everybody, Sean from Movie Assault here, and it's time once again for another video. This time around it is episode 5 of the Halloween 15 for 2024, and this time around we're going to take a look at the Slumber Party Massacre from 1982, which was directed by Amy Jones, or as she is now known, Amy Holden Jones. This release is from Scream Factory, and I think this came out in 2014. Yeah, 2014. This is a funny movie, and I say that literally and figuratively. You can look at this movie two ways. It's either the most generic 1980s slasher film available, because it's full of tropes, cliches, it's full of the random, teenagers, oversexed teenagers, and full of reasons to get those same teenagers naked and or dead, or it is a parody of the slasher film with all of those tropes and cliches and a lot of humor in it. It all really depends on your approach to it and what you know going into it. And I don't want to ruin it for you, so if you really don't want to spoil anything, if you like slasher films, watch it. Go watch it right now. It's an okay slasher film. It is a cult classic, and for a reason. But I would just skip the rest of this video and go watch it, and I would give it a favorable review as a 1980s slasher film. But if you want to know a little bit more, then continue watching this review. Still here? Okay. This was based on a script called Sleepless Nights, which was written by a feminist named Rita Mae Brown. And she was writing a script to parody the oversexed teenager, essentially the whole way that the slasher film, basically takes female characters and slaughters them on screen, and there's always a male character that comes and saves the female character, or whatever. Well, Amy Jones discovered the script, and nobody was doing anything with it, and she produced some scenes from it, and Roger Corman, I guess, got a hold of it. I'm basing all this off of the making of from this, so if I'm wrong or I'm missing details, I haven't done extensive research. I only know what I know from here. But apparently Amy Jones did some sequences from the film and made them, and trying to get herself a directing role, and Roger Corman or somebody saw this and decided, hey, we're going to give you money to make this into a full film, but they wanted her to do it as a serious slasher film. So she did. She rewrote the script, but she kept a lot of that same humor into it. So there's a lot of humor in this movie, intentional and unintentional. But if you don't know that it's supposed to be funny, you can just view it as a slasher film and not really think anything of it. There are a couple of humorous scenes, but of course most slasher films have some humorous scenes. But if you're going in with sort of that meta background knowledge, you can read a lot of stuff into it. So it's really kind of funny. I didn't know anything about this going in, so I just knew some people referred to it as a comedy, and I was like, okay, interesting. And then after watching it, I watched the making of stuff, and really, in retrospect, viewed it as what it might be, which is a parody. But getting into the plot is very simple. It's on a Friday morning, this supposed high school senior, and I say supposed because she looks like she's nowhere near the age of 18. She looks maybe 26, if not a day younger. She wakes up and finds her parents are leaving for the weekend. So she goes to school and announces she's going to have a sleepover for the girls, which are her friends. And they announce that there's going to be a party, and the word gets out and whatnot. And of course, as they're getting ready for this party, you hear these news clips and see headlines that a serial killer has escaped from prison. Oh, geez, what could possibly happen? The serial killer is, of course, going to pay a visit to the party. And that's what happens. And it's the basic setup for a movie called The Slumber Party Massacre. One unusual aspect of this film, though, is that the killer isn't kept a mystery or hidden or, you know, there's no big reveal at the end, like who the killer is or what their motivation is or anything like that. You don't get any backstory on the killer. The killer is revealed like 10 minutes into the movie and just starts killing people. And all you know is that this is a serial killer who's escaped from prison. That's all you need to know. And his weapon of choice is this industrial, ginormous drill, cordless drill that he runs around with, which it doesn't really take too much brain power to think of it as a giant phallic symbol. And you've got a female director, so you can read into that whatever you want. So there's all sorts of interesting ways to look at this film, you know, female empowering or whatever. This isn't the right channel to get into that stuff. But there are some role reversals from your typical slasher film. You've got the gossipy guys instead of the gossipy girls. The girls are a lot smarter than girls are typically in these types of films. You can read a whole bunch of stuff about that. I'm not going to get into that. All you want to know from me is this movie worth watching? And I would say absolutely. It's a lot of fun, and it also depends on what you bring into it. If you know it's a parody, you're going to get more out of it. If you don't know it's a parody, you're still going to find a moderately entertaining, if super cliched slasher film, but still a solid one. The gore and the kills aren't that great, but there's gratuitous nudity, courtesy of Roger Corman. And even Amy Jones says in the making of video that, you know, she knew she had to include that. She was told she had to include that. So she got it in, she got it over with, but you know, that was necessary for back in the day. That's what the slashers had to have in them. So especially if you were making a movie for Roger Corman in the 80s. So there's really nothing spectacular about this movie. There's nothing terrible about this movie. It is a run-of-the-mill slasher film, but if you look at it through the lens of knowing it originally was supposed to be a parody, you can find some nuggets of really fun stuff. There is one sequence, though, towards the end of the film where Amy Jones sort of pulls out this kind of visually brilliant, it's sort of a 3-part sequence. I don't really know what you would describe it as. I'm sure there's a term for it. But you cut away to 3 different sets of characters simultaneously, and it's all sort of choreographed with something that's happening on a television set. And it's almost as if Amy Jones is like, yes, this is a typical slasher film, but I am capable of much more than this, and I'm going to show you that, and here you go. Just so you know, I'm capable of more than this. So this is my resume, Hollywood. I know this is my first crack at being a director, but if you want something a little more brilliant, I can do it. It's just I'm shackled with doing this slasher film. So I guess she passed up a chance to edit E.T., to direct this film back in 1982. So I don't know whether that paid off for her or not. She only has 4 directing credits to her name, but she's got tons of editing and writing credits to Amy Jones. So what do I think of the Slumber Party Massacre? Well, I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it. It is what it is. It knows what it is, and it knows what it is with a wink. So there you go. That's my review of the Slumber Party Massacre. Episode 6 of the Halloween 15 will be coming up in 48 hours, and I honestly don't know what I'm going to watch next. So be surprised along with me in 2 days. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.